All right, so some housekeeping stuff first. My name is Melissa Albino Hegeman, and I am the Professional Development Committee's chairperson. So I'd like to thank you all for attending this lunchtime webinar. Before I hand it over to Catherine, I'll be monitoring the chat for questions. We'll take questions at the end. So put your thoughts in there, and I'll make sure they get resurfaced when Catherine's all done. And now for the main event, I'd like to welcome Catherine Dubrec, who is a GISP, a Rochester, New York native with a passion for GIS and geospatial technology. She has her BA and Master's of Science in Geography and recently completed the GIST certificate program at MCC. She currently continues her education and learning by pursuing MCC's new GIST micro-credential. Catherine is the junior planner for the town of Penfield, New York, volunteers on the New York State GIS Association Communications Committee and Board of Directors. She teaches introductory GIS at the Rochester Institute of Technology and works as an employee in the GIST department of Monroe Community College, where she mentors intro GIS students and spreads the good word of GIS at MCC across social media. So thank you, Catherine. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa, for having me today. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm really excited to share all the cool stuff that Monroe Community College is doing and how they're helping meeting workforce needs with virtual GIST. I am going to hit share, and then we will get started. Okay, awesome. So I'll just I'll hit slideshow mode. So this presentation, this webinar is going to talk about all the cool stuff Monroe Community College is doing. Monroe Community College is in Rochester, New York, but the programs that I'll go over today and all the stuff is mostly online. So anybody can further their education if they're interested in participating in this cool stuff. My name's Catherine, but part of the grant team, the grant that funded this, expanding the GIS program, is Professor John Little, and then also Professors Wayne Howard and Heather Pierce. So all of this work is funded from an NSF ATE grant. The goals that we had are a lot. I'll go over each of these in more detail. The biggest one, I think, was creating 3 new GIS classes that are all remote or online, and then also developing a full associate's in applied science degree in GIST. That's fully accessible. If you're on campus and you want to come, you can do that. And then there's online options as well. This work started from a previous grant that helped Monroe Community College get their GIST certificate program started. So the previous grant got this certificate program. There was classes involved in that certificate, like intro GIS, remote sensing, learning about GPS, and it was a 2-semester certificate program. And with the success of that and all the interest, we wanted to pursue another grant and continue expanding. I am, like Melissa said, a graduate of this certificate program, so I might be a little biased, but I thought it was great. I don't know if I would be where I am today without it, especially some of the classes that were part of it, in particular, remote sensing. The certificate program is stackable with this new Associates in Applied Science degree, so that you can take all of these classes that are on the screen. 2 years at community college, you can have your associates, but if you take the particular classes as part of this associate's degree that are in the certificate program or the new micro-credential for GIS, you can get all three when you graduate. So it's stackable. It's really nice that you can continue like building your resume for GIS education and having all of those degrees in your pocket, which is really nice. This is the first semester that the associate's degree is like full in action, so it's really exciting. If anyone's interested in going back to get their associates, this is really cool, and we can talk after. So this flyer, this is one of the materials that I've been working to share with the world, really, that gives you more information about the associate's degree. Part of this degree is the 3 new classes that were developed, and I'll go in a little bit more in detail about each of those classes. They're Geospatial Data Acquisition and Management, which is a lot of post-GIS, PostGIS, and PostgreSQL, which is really nice, especially now. I think a lot of focus is going towards database management, so that class was really awesome. Web mapping is another one that I'm currently taking, and we'll go into that a little bit, and then intro to geospatial programming as well. And I just want to share, oops, I had it loaded already, a video that's about the program that includes our instructors in the GIS department. This video is really nice. It sums everything up, and we wanted to share that with you today.
Welcome to MCC's Virtual Geospatial Information Science and Technology Program. Thanks to a National Science Foundation grant, we are expanding our program. I'm Jonathan Little, an Associate Professor of Geography and the Geospatial Coordinator. We have a great team. Working closely with Professor Pierce, Howard, and DeBrook, we have expanded our program. So what is geospatial technology? Well, it goes by many names, such as GIS or GIST. GIS is everywhere today, from your smartphone to data science and big data. Geospatial technology allows for the integration of many disciplines, from business to military, crime analysis, wildfire detection, and politics. At MCC, we offer a 1-year virtual GIST certificate program to provide students with the skills for an entry-level geospatial position. We also offer a completely online AAS and micro-credential in GIST. The AAS degree in 9-credit-hour micro-credential for GIST professionals will be the premier source for traditional and professional students seeking remote access to GIST education in upstate New York and beyond. 3 new advanced GIST courses for professionals have been developed and are now being offered. They focus on geospatial database management and acquisition, web mapping, and programming for GIS. Students that complete these 3 courses will earn a micro-credential. Those really into GIST or just wanting to learn more can be a part of MCC's Mapping Club, in which we host mapping parties.
The micro-credential is tailor-made for GIST professionals as well as advanced GIST students. It consists of 3 courses that can be taken completely online: Geospatial Data Acquisition and Management, Web Mapping, and an Introduction to Geospatial Programming. All courses are aligned to the Department of Labor's Geospatial Technology Competency Model and have leveraged material from the National Geospatial Center of Excellence.
This project will enhance the online support given to students to reduce isolation and increase prospects for academic success. Alumni are working with students virtually now. The students are giving rave reviews to learn about their experience and provide support as needed. Our alumni include myself, Catherine Dubrek, a geospatial project manager, Kareem Howard, who works as a GIS specialist for Consolidated Edison of New York in the heart of New York City, Drew Ortego, who was a tech support analyst at Esri, then an Esri Python developer, recently a programming teacher for a coding bootcamp, and now a Python developer at a startup in California. Enith Leigh Soler was a previous business admin management major at MCC who fell in love with GIS and hasn't looked back since. She's currently a senior at the University of Buffalo. We're very fortunate to have these alumni providing MCC GIST students support and leadership.
I'm Wayne Howard, GIS adjunct and Solar Concepts co-founder. I teach our capstone course in which students participate in an internship or simulated workforce experience. The virtual internships include those locally, Water for Sudan, the American Red Cross, the Nature Conservancy, the New York State Tug Hill Commission, the New York State Department of Health at the University of Albany, and many more. We're also fortunate to partner with the National Geospatial Technology Center of Excellence in Kentucky.
We also have begun to offer virtual internships with universities in
Sorry, guys.
organizations across the globe to provide students with global workforce experiences. International internships included one in Colombia to develop a lesson with Python translated into Spanish, as well as the use of remote sensing to assess water quality. Another project developed mapping apps for local citizens in Mexico to collect water quality data. A student was also paired with a remote sensing center in Kazakhstan to work on a project to identify wheat disease. Most recently, a student developed apps for local farmers to use in Malawi to improve crops and forest health.
Coming back closer to home, with so many libraries across the U.S., this program is working together with public and college librarians to provide support to community college students. The MCC and public libraries are providing an innovative approach to outreach and enhanced support designed to reduce the digital divide. A professional development program led by our team have trained librarians in the use of geospatial software, how to access the virtual desktop resources, and provide support to students on finding geospatial data.
Students will be recruited into the AAS GIS degree program through the GIS Summer Camp in conjunction with MCC's Upward Bound program, dual credit outreach with local high schools, targeted recruitment of introductory GIS students, and humanitarian mapping events led by the Mapping Club.
We hope you consider learning more about the Geospatial Technology program. A special thanks to the many people that are helping us provide enhanced support and workforce opportunities to our students. Please let me know if you have any questions.
So thank you for watching. That video does a great job summarizing some things I might forget because I haven't focused mostly on that, and the other professors weren't able to join as a speaker today due to scheduling, but that video does a great job of summarizing, especially going over some of the virtual internships that students have had as part of the capstone course. And all of this is part of the new Associates in Applied Science degree, which is very good experience to put on a resume, as well as having the educational requirement that some jobs seek. The micro-credential is probably the thing people on this call have heard about, if they've heard about it yet. I've been trying to do a big push online through tweets and LinkedIn and email blasts about the micro-credential and the courses within that. And this is geared more towards people in the field. So most of the people on this call, myself, other people that have worked in the GIS field for a few years, for a long time, and want to learn some new skills, especially new classes that might not have been offered or really existed when the professional might have been in school or done all of their work, like especially web mapping. So micro-credential is a really great way to brush up on those skills and learn new skills as well. And so far we've had a couple students enroll from across New York State, and then also one student who enrolled after seeing a post on LinkedIn, and he lives in Jamaica. So it's pretty cool to see that it's becoming a global program. This is another one of the promotional materials that we've created to share information about the micro-credential. So like I said, it's geared towards GIS professionals like us on the call, but students can earn it as well during their certificate program or associate's degree because everything is stackable. So that's the 3-in-1. You can earn this with all the other degrees or just focus on this if you only want those 3 classes. This is highlighting some of the sample student work. This is just, it's amazing to see the things that students come up with for the different classes. I believe the 2 on the right side were created using QGIS. So the cartography class that's offered at MCC focuses on using QGIS for the whole semester, which is great. It's open source, it's free, anybody can download it, and you can produce some really awesome things through it and not have to worry about paying for licensing or extensions or things like that with other software. And on the left side, there's 2 examples of work students made for their final project in the remote sensing course. So on the top, there's some NDVI work that a student whose background was in archaeology, he created this, and it's so cool how students can tie in if they're not a GIS major, they don't have a GIS background, and they're in the class, you can still tie it into whatever field you're looking at, getting your degree in. So there's students right now that are in GIS classes that are business majors. There's people who work for the Monroe County Sheriffs, or they work for the City of Rochester Police Department, and they're taking GIS courses and tying their projects back into their day-to-day work. This is just because I was a student too. I'll highlight another project. So this is another example of a student remote sensing final project. This is mine, but this was looking at Landsat imagery from 2001 versus 2011 and learning about or using the different band combinations that we learned about in class, looking to see how much has changed over that 10-year period. Henrietta, New York is very urbanized in the north section, which you can see in all of these maps. And then it's still very rural in the different parts. So we wanted to see how much has changed, where it's changed, and then explore spectral signatures, which was covered in that class as well, and apply what we learned to a real world topic. So this project tied into stormwater management. With more impervious surface, then there's more stormwater runoff, pollution, etc. Now we'll get into the 3 new classes, which are very exciting. The first one that is part of the micro-credential, the associate's degree, and the certificate program is GEG 236. So this is Geospatial Data Acquisition and Management. This class focuses on PostGIS, PostgreSQL. We also did a few weeks learning about processing drone data, and I wasn't able to attend, but there was a field trip to a farm a little bit south of Rochester where students got to see a drone actually in flight and collect data. And then back on class, this was remote, so back in the class setting, we got to process that data and make a digital elevation model and things like that from it. So that was really awesome. Everyone who attended thought it was great. So I'm excited to hear more about this class as it's continued to be offered in the years to come. This past fall, 2021, was the first time it was offered. There's also the focus on topology, so that's really great, especially if you work for a municipality or something where you have a lot of data. You want to make sure things are connected. There's no slivers and things like that. So topology is a great thing to learn. And then the second half of the semester pretty much was PostGIS and PostgreSQL. And I'm I'm very confident in this statement that this class, I took it at the same time as when I was studying for the GISP exam, and I took the exam in December when this class was wrapping up, and I don't know that I would have passed the GISP test without having taken this class at the same time or just in general, because more than half the questions, I would say, were related to this exact topic, data acquisition and management. So this class has really helped me personally, and I think all the students in the class really gained something last semester too. The second new class that was created thanks to this grant is called web mapping. So this is GEG 237. And this is focusing on, like it says, web mapping. So far, this is the first time it's been offered this spring 2022 semester. And there was so much interest that a second section had to be created. So there were so many students on the wait list to sign up for this that there are now 2 sections being offered at this time, which is really great to see the interest. And students are learning about story maps, so using ArcGIS Online, Esri, OpenStreetMap. And this past current week, the assignment has been so far looking into field maps and also some free open source tools like Input and Mergin. So those are really cool. And web mapping's great. So far, I've learned a lot of things that can be applied in my current job. So trying to get our web mapping a little more up to speed. This is just an example of one of the assignments that we've had. So I'm in this class, so this is mine. But one of the assignments was to make a story map of somewhere you've traveled or somewhere you would want to travel. So we learned how to add hyperlinks, add a title, add a subtitle. We learned how to add multiple pictures, just add single pictures, having the pictures on like one side of the text or the other side. I have a lot of pictures because I went to visit family in South Korea, but we also learned how to insert maps in the story map and add points and lines to it. So I think that's really useful. Adding more information, and this map is through Living Atlas. So this map eventually, when there's a storm, would show the radar over this particular area, which is awesome. I think if I zoom out, you can see more weather because Busan's having some good weather, but there's clouds and storms. So this is a really awesome Living Atlas web map that you can insert into a story map. So this was a great learning experience in web mapping so far. Oops. Sorry about that. Hit the wrong button. And then the other new class that was created is Introduction to Geospatial Programming. So this class, a lot of the focus is how to apply Python and how that is related with geospatial processes, how you integrate it with ArcGIS. And I'm not in this class currently, so I can't speak to it too much, but I think especially with recent job postings for the geospatial field, there's a lot of preference for people who have some sort of experience in programming or Python. So I think this course is going to build those skills for the students, and so they can ultimately maybe be set apart from different candidates when applying for a job and maybe get that job for having the programming experience versus not. This is offered right now for the first time in the spring, and I hope to take it next year, but just didn't have time this year. The video had information about our alumni mentoring program. So this program has been going on for a couple of years now, it has been very helpful for students. We've had really good feedback, people saying that they couldn't have done XYZ assignment without the help that they received and the support. So this picture is me. I'm part of it. I'm like the coordinator of the alumni mentoring program. So just making sure that everyone's dates and times are set up and creating a Google Sheets calendar that's shared out to the students where all of our days and times and Zoom link and email is listed so students have it all in one central place. We also have video went over about Kareem. Kareem now works for Google, I believe. He's no longer with Con Ed, but it's just a great example of where GIS can take you from a utility company all the way to Google. His story is pretty great, and students really love talking with Kareem. Same with Drew. Drew's background is more in programming, so his focus this semester has been helping the students, being there for the students if they need help with the Intro to Geospatial Programming course. He used to work at Esri and now he works at a startup, so he's got a wealth of information and experience. And then Ani worked, she was in the MCC program and then transferred to the University of Buffalo to get a 4-year degree in GIS and is working on getting a job in the field currently. One of the things that the Alumni Mentoring Program offers for students is a Ask Me Anything session. There's 2 per semester. So it's sort of like if people on this call have been on Reddit and seen that, where there's Bill Gates, I'm Bill Gates, ask me anything, and then people can send him questions and he answers them, or anyone, actors, famous doctors, pilots, whatever. So we do the same thing, but it's asking someone in the GIS field anything. Questions have mostly been related to what sorts of jobs can you get? Can I use this in my field of business admin? How can I write my resume so it focuses more on GIS? What's your best experience in the field so far? Things like that. And students really enjoy it. There's usually a good turnout for everyone. We just had one a few weeks ago with Drew, and there were a lot of great questions about programming and what's the focus on programming in the job market now, and went over resume building. So that was a great talk. And we're gonna have Ani at the end of the semester, so that would be early May, and she'll share her experience based on the questions that students ask. Another great thing about the Alumni Mentoring Program at MCC is flexibility. So a lot of students at the community college, and just students in general, since we're looking to have students right out of high school, students that have been in the field for a while, people work. So a lot of times people work during the day. I work 9 to 5. So it's been really awesome to see everyone has a different schedule. So we have different hours throughout the week, and students can pick the time that works best with their schedule. So Drew starts off with an email. So students can email him and say, hey, I need help. Can we set up a Zoom? And that's been great for Drew being on the West Coast. So there's a time difference for him, but then also students can coordinate with him for a time that works best for both of them. Ani has hours 2 days a week. Kareem has hours 2 days a week. Kareem uses his lunch break. So if students are free around 12 to 1 during the week on his 2 days, they can jump on and get help from Kareem. And then my hours are on Sunday nights. So a lot of students, like I said, work during the day, work during the week, but also recognizing a lot of students wait till the last minute to do assignments. So I figured a Sunday, a weekend day would be helpful, and assignments are usually due like Sunday nights. So I'm there for last minute help if students need it. And there's usually a lot of students that join Sunday nights. So I think going forward, we'll have weekend hours, at least while I'm part of this program. It just depends on who's part of it in the future if they want to do weekend hours, but it's been great so far. This slide was in the video, so you got a little taste of what's going on with our student recruitment, but we have been really going hard with the summer camp, the GIST summer camp, working with the Upward Bound program at MCC, Monroe Community College. So Upward Bound works with students that are in the Rochester school district or some of the private schools around the city of Rochester, helping them get prepared for college and things like that. So every summer they have a 2-week summer camp. It's like a work study where they can pick a topic they're interested in and just spend 2 weeks focusing on that and do a little project. We have had at least 2 of our GIST grant, like official members, part of that. So I did it last year, and Wayne has done it in the past. So high school students, like GIS tends to be something that's offered in college more than high school, which we're trying to change, but this gets high school students thinking about what GIS is, how they use geospatial data every day, and how they can use free resources to do some research. We also have been working with high schools for dual credit. So that's where you can be a student in high school, you're taking this class, but you pay, when I was in high school, it was like $150. You pay a certain amount and you get that college credit too. That's been a little tricky the last couple of years just with COVID, but we're hoping to pick back up on that. Same with the targeted recruitment of Intro GIS students, so with orientation events and just welcome events, things like that. They've been more virtual because of COVID, so we're hoping to attend more in-person things and share the word with students that way. And the Mapping Club has been a great help with spreading the word of GIS. So every semester they host at least one Mapathon. So if you haven't participated in a Mapathon, actually that leads into this slide. It's basically for an hour or two at MCC. It's usually like an hour and a half. Students get together. The last few have been over Zoom. There's one coming up in a couple weeks that's in person or over Zoom. But when it's in person, everyone just gets together in a computer lab. They learn a little bit about OpenStreetMap and the humanitarian OpenStreetMap team and their work, just having volunteers who have an OpenStreetMap account digitize different areas of need. So if there's like a remote village in the Pacific on an island, they need COVID vaccines, this group will make a urgent request for folks to come together and digitize based on aerial imagery where they see roads or buildings. So then first response groups, aid, NGOs, things like that can provide the help and assistance that they need. This picture is a great example. It's a little bit dated, but this is a direct result of a Mapathon where I think there were 70 people. This wasn't from MCC, but you can see that Google at the time just showed a road and that was it. OpenStreetMap after a Mapathon showed that this place is way more than just a random highway. There's all these streets, there's all these little private roads or trails. So Mapathons are really powerful and they count as volunteer experience. So students can list that as a line on their resume. You're giving back to your global community And because there's no GIS previous experience required, this is a great intro for students across campus, faculty, anybody in the community that's interested to join, learn a little bit more about GIS and geospatial technology, participate, and then maybe they enjoy it so much that they enroll in the GIS programs. Speaking of Mapathons, there's one coming up on April 5th at 4 p.m. There's a little QR code here if you're interested in joining and you're free. There's a Zoom option if you'd like to join and participate in some humanitarian mapping with MCC's Mapping Club. I think it was this past fall, 2021, for GIS Day, there were like 400 people that attended the couple Mapathons that the club put on. So with the option of Zoom, and we're trying to make everything accessible and virtual, a lot of people are interested. So if you're interested, take a little snapshot of this in the QR code, or I can share out the Zoom link if you're looking for it that way. The biggest thing I've been working on with this program and trying to spread the good word is social media. So this is a spreadsheet I started, and this is a little bit outdated. I think I made this in like January, but this is just highlighting all of the groups on social media that I've tried to target and how many folks are part of that group. So how big of an audience our posts about the new programs and the new degrees are, how big of an audience they're reaching. So some of the stuff is just my own personal Facebook, so my friends and family see it, or my own LinkedIn page. But then I've also tried to share some stuff in bigger GIS groups on LinkedIn. So one of them is like 50,000 people. MCC has shared information on their college page, which has been really great. So they have a large following, about 50,000 people as well. And they've shared things on their Facebook about our program, on Twitter. So it's been really great. The college is super supportive of getting students aware of GIS and involved. And one of the groups had about 70,000. So there's a lot of overlap with the GIS groups and members, but hopefully people are seeing it and there is interest. There's a lot of interest. Like I said, the one student's from Jamaica who's enrolled in web mapping. There's been interest with folks in Africa and Canada, everywhere in between. So it's awesome to see the impact that having a virtual program has. These are a couple examples of GIS posts that we've had on social media. So one of them is just on my own LinkedIn page. And, this, I do share it on my own LinkedIn page, but this was part of one of those groups. So I shared this to one of the bigger GIS groups, just the flyer that you have seen previously, and some information about the micro credential, and just a simple post on social media gets so many people interested in it. And on the left side is Monroe Community College. I believe this is Facebook, or maybe this is also LinkedIn. MCC is really supportive of the program, so they're sharing the word on their pages for prospective students to see and learn more about it. The video highlighted some of the virtual internships that are available through the GIST programs at MCC. So one of them is, one of the internships is required for the capstone course. So that's like your senior capstone course. You're in your spring semester, you're graduating in May. You have a virtual internship as part of that course. And some of these examples you heard about, but these are a couple of pictures of students and their internships. This is me. I'm not sure why my posture is so terrible, but this was me and a couple other students actually in Columbia working on data collection. This picture and that trip was part of a different grant, but that experience with the folks in Columbia led to my own virtual internship when I was in the capstone course, which was working with the same university and the same folks. Travel wasn't involved, sadly, because of COVID hit. We were supposed to go in April 2020, and March 2020 is when things shut down, so the trip didn't happen. But there was a lot of good research using Landsat data, using Sentinel data. I can show you a little bit about it just because it's my work. So here I made a few maps. This is just the study area where Cartagena, Colombia is, where the study area within Cartagena was. So we're looking at mangrove forests around this big swamp. And then similar to my remote sensing project where I was comparing Landsat from one year to another, this is looking at different satellite imagery, but the same sort of idea where you're looking at how the mangroves have changed over time. There's a lot of illegal building and cutting down of mangroves in this area, so this was to highlight the change. So here's a few other maps. And I also, so these maps were all shared in Spanish too. So these are the English version, but on the bottom there's some information for each map that was translated to Spanish and shared with the university. And I also created an intro Python lab where I translated it to Spanish as well. Google Translate is great. I have a little Spanish experience, but I'm not fluent anymore. So that was translated and given to the professor to actually use in his class. So there's a global aspect to the GIST programs at MCC. Get back to our slideshow. There's also some more examples of, so we have the global virtual internships, Malawi, Kazakhstan, Mexico, Colombia, and then there's more local ones. So there's people have worked with the Red Cross. Some students have worked with the Genesee Land Trust, DEC. All those groups could use some help from students doing a little bit of research, and it has such an impactful, the organizations really benefit from the research, and then the students benefit from that, having that experience. I haven't been too involved in the library program, but there is a lot of great work going on with the other professors that are part of the grant, where they were, which the video went over it a little bit, reaching out to local public librarians. So there's a lot of libraries within the Monroe County system where we are in New York, and these folks have worked with all those librarians to teach them a little bit more about GIS if they didn't know, and help them learn how to support students who need help with GIS. And there's been 40 librarians that are trained now, so that's huge. There's a lot of opportunities for students post MCC and post their associates or post their certificate program. There's a list of examples. A couple of them I've participated in. So used to work at Eagleview. I currently work at the town of Penfield. So GIS can be applicable in all sorts of jobs. There's a student who was in a couple of the GIS classes who worked for Wegmans. So she was able to apply her new GIS knowledge to different aspects of Wegmans and their business growth, which is great to see and great to learn about. If people don't want to go straight into the workforce, the credits will transfer to a lot of different schools, either locally or beyond New York. A few examples of schools that definitely have GIS programs that an MCC program or credits will transfer to. University at Buffalo. There's also SUNY Cortland. So for those of you that know Chris Bedurick, he teaches at SUNY Cortland, and they do a lot of cool drone stuff. So some students that have graduated from MCC's GIS program have gone on to four-year schools as well. More examples of internships and prospective employers. So there's local to the college. So we're in Monroe County. There's different local groups, municipal and private, as well as nonprofits. At the state level, there's a lot of GIS opportunities, DEC, Sea Grant, again, private sector as well, and then nationally and internationally. So work with the university in Columbia. Esri is a great example of an international GIS employer. The programs at MCC, the courses and the certificate program and micro-credential have helped me directly in my career with the GISP exam, with remote sensing. I learned a lot, and that prepared me for my job at Eagleview, because those of you who know that company, they do a lot of aerial imagery collection and processing. That's all raster data. So having that remote sensing experience at MCC really prepared me for that. And I think that is about it. So all of our contact information I can share if folks are interested. The website to the GIS department and the greater geography department is here. Big thanks to the folks I work with every day at MCC that are part of this program. They are some of the most passionate educators I've ever met, and it's awesome to know that the students are learning from people who love what they do and love to share what they do. And then big thanks to NSF for funding the program. That is it for my screen share. Were there any questions people have?
Thanks, Catherine. That was very, very interesting.
Thanks.
I have a question. We've seen a lot more of these smaller programs pop up over the last 2 years. What do you think someone should be looking for when they're comparing all of these programs?
I would say if you're looking, well, especially now, cost is a big thing. So inflation, cost of schools. So if you're local to New York, you can look for the in-state tuition versus out-of-state. If you're just looking across the country or across the world, I think just the types of classes that are offered, and if they are what you're looking for, or if they're just more general and like intro GIS, I wouldn't need to take that because I've been around the block a little bit. But something like web mapping or intro to programming, I could really benefit from that. So I think it just depends what you're looking for, and a cost is a big one. Access is a big one. So if you're virtual or if you're online, it sort of fits the working person's schedule a little bit more than in person. Also, if you're not local to Rochester, in person doesn't work. So flexibility, I think, is another thing to look for across the different programs that are out there.
It looks like we have a question about can you just register for one course at a time, or do you have to register for the whole program?
Yes, you can register for one class 2 classes, the whole program, whatever you're looking for to get out of it, we can make it work. So if you just want to take 1 class, that's great. If you're, I think it's over 60, if you just like show your license or something to prove your age, and then if you're 60 or older, you can take some of these classes for free if you're interested. That's a good perk.
That is great. Let's see. We also had some questions about the grant. Like, what NSF grant program did you use to get these new classes started?
It was part of the NSF ATE, which I can't remember what that stands for, but I can actually share the link to our particular project. If you just give me 1 second, I have it bookmarked. We'll throw this in the chat. So this link has more information about the ATE, sorry, it's the Advanced Technological Education Program through NSF. So this has all the flyers that you saw, websites, and then it also has the recordings to the Ask Me Anything sessions with our different alumni. It's just the audio, so it's kind of like a podcast if you want to just check it out while you're working or something. All of that's on there. There's some more presentations with different groups about the library. Those presentations are online. The agendas and activities for that high school summer program are on that site. So if you're interested in learning more, that is all on there. And I can also share the Zoom link for the Mapathon if anyone is interested in joining that. Just grab that. Anyone wants to hang out with the mapping club over Zoom and give back to your global community, that's the link to register. And if anyone has any ideas of different ways I can spread the word through social media or just online in general, I would love to learn more about your ideas. So feel free to find me on LinkedIn or email. We can chat more.
Great. We have about 2 more minutes. If anyone else has any other questions. I also want to put a plug in for the GIS Association's Professional Development Committee. If anyone has any ideas of topics they'd like covered, if they'd like to volunteer to give a talk like the one Catherine just gave, we're always looking for volunteers, and it gets you credit towards your GISP. So I'm going to post our email in the chat. Maybe.
Yeah, I've sat in on a few other webinars in the past, and it's awesome to learn about what folks are doing. That's maybe they're working with coastal data in New York City or something. I don't do that at all in my job, so it's really awesome to learn about what people are doing and different things, the different ways they're applying GIS. So I recommend attending the webinars, and also if you have ideas, definitely hit Melissa up.
We're also trying to get some webinars on the schedule for the end of April and May about getting your GISP, and also some student presentations. If anyone here is a teacher and has students who have projects they're looking to present, we're interested in that as well. So that brings us right to 1 o'clock. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Catherine. And I will do my best to get this recording up on YouTube within the next week or so you can revisit it with the links included. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thanks for joining.